I believe in training. We have again lost sight of the true essence of lean production and lean, and been focusing too much on the tools and techniques and the cultural side of things, rather than the actual flow of value, and explaining very much about what is the unit of value, how what is the throughput of that unit of value, how many units are passing through per hour per day, where is the bottleneck in the process, and what is the throughput of the bottleneck, how do we improve bottlenecks. So I think getting more back to the theory of constraints point of view of lean, and not spending so much time on the individual tools and techniques would help.
Yeah, and I think beyond that too, there's and I'm not too sure if it's just, you know, again, intimidation factor, but I've noticed this too, is that people will say, again, in theory, push versus pull, great idea. When you go to actually talk about, you know, implementing that, oh God, no, there's no way, we can't do that. There's absolutely no way.
Kanban doesn't work here.
Yeah, no, it's not going to work here. You know, we can't have stockouts like that, or we can't have, you know, the floor filling up with crap. Like, no, it's never going to work here for one reason or another. So.
Exactly. And by the way, Kanban is definitely a fundamental thing that needs teaching. Pull systems are fundamental. That's part of what I'm saying is the core, right? About reducing batch size, having a pull system to reduce WIP, right? So everybody has to understand what is a Kanban system, what is a pull system, how do I move my production system, and whether it's this works for service industries, it works for warehousing, it works for retail. How do I make it more of a pull system, reducing work in progress and creating greater throughput? Good point on the Kanban. And as you say, they're not implementing. They'll talk about it, but they don't want to do it.
Or we'll implement it again. We'll do the same thing that we're talking about right now, and we'll implement a, you know, like a consumables Kanban, a corrugate Kanban or something, you know, so that we reorder and we've always got corrugate. But what that turns into is it's an over-engineered min-max program with excess safety stock built into it. So it's not actually a Kanban, because there's not actually, like, you know, it's not a bin system. Yeah. So I see, again, that's another thing that I'll see implemented, but it's not building a pull system. It's just, it's making, again, a min-max system that lives in an ERP somewhere a little bit more visual, but it doesn't actually solve a problem. Or we'll go real far with it and go full Kanban with everything, and try to do like Kanban Hijunka and stuff like that, and kind of go from 0 to 60 in this idealized version of a pull system that's just, you know, zero inventory and all that. And I've seen one plant that tried to do that, and it was a catastrophe. That just decided, we're gonna go 0 to 60, rip the band-aid off, and just see how it goes. And I think it's, as far as training goes, I think it's one of the things is that people, it's hard to experience push versus pull unless you've actually lived it. And the lived experience, like the difference of push versus pull when you've actually been in it, is humongous. It's not recognizable, like, as far as like a production system. And I don't think people realize like the difference of how it actually looks and feels and functions to see something like moving at like high velocity versus one machine going like this and then everything else sitting. It's a totally different look, feel, and everything. And again, I'm not really sure how you'd rectify that, but nobody's really seen a true pull system. So we're all kind of going, I mean, again, a lot of us have, but for those who haven't, we're going off of this kind of like theoretical, idealized state that everyone is actually afraid to try, you know? And I don't know if there's anything you really do about that, but it is disappointing. And my personal view of it, and again, this is an American person's, you know, view of it, but I think part of the problem and the reason we're not going, you know, sort of all the way with it is a lot of the waste and the problems are just subsidized. So we're insulated from competition. So there's really no, you know, firm reason to do these things. So we'll learn about them and train people on them again, because it's a good idea. In theory, it works. And it's, most importantly, it can be parlayed into something that saves money. But again, it's
subsidized. Our governments do have a tendency in the US and in Europe and the UK to be supporting poor practices. There is a lot of funding available, incentives available, and companies are staying solvent, even with poor systems, poor processes, very suboptimal efficiency, suboptimal productivity. Brian Butler, if you're listening to this, will know about this. He is a lean consultant that is very passionate about this. How we are not sending the right message to companies that are doing the wrong things. And the word funding, I just have heard it so much these days with businesses looking for funding, and the incentive to get the funding is not that you've got a great product or you have a great process. You fill out paperwork based on a number of different factors. I mean, there's a lot of politically correct type factors they want to see, but there are companies now that you pay that know how to fill out these forms, and it's got nothing to do about your product or your process. It's all about other stuff, so
it's risk mitigation. Again, it's risk mitigation where all of the weight, again, to my earlier point, where all of the weight falls on the ability of the brand to grow.